Welcome everybody. So we're gonna tell you why we played that song as a little intro to tonight's webinar, which is more of a family a type of vibe tonight, where we're gonna tell you about our own story and how we got to where we are today in Florida. So I'll let Mama take it away since this is her favorite story to tell. Well, go ahead, Mama.
The actual day we moved down?
Yeah. Tell the story of the song.
The song. Okay, so it was me, Manna, and Peter. John was staying back for some reason, I don't remember. And we decided that's it, we're leaving. We pulled out of our driveway in Bolton, Ontario. And on the long drive down, we said, you know when you get to Florida and you see that sign, welcome to Florida? Mm-hmm. Well, this was the first time that we were actually going to be moving. We were going. And so on the way down, the kids and I decided that was going to be the song that we were going to play. Look, I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it. That we were going to play as soon as we crossed that where you see that sign. And so Peter was ready, had the song ready, and then we just blasted it. We crossed over the Florida line. I think I started crying.
We all cried.
We all cried. This beautiful new adventure. So that's the meaning behind that song. Welcome everyone here tonight. The reason we're putting on this webinar is because we've talked to so many of you, and we've had inquiries online, on Facebook, on the phone calls that we have with you. And a lot of people are asking the same questions. What happens to my kids? What's it like to move? What about schools? What about crime? Like all these things? Yes, we can take care of all your immigration stuff. That's not a worry at all. And we do it quite well. But tonight's an opportunity for our family to talk with you, and hopefully some of your kids are watching as well. We're going to have time at the end for a question and answer. We really want to share our experience with you so that you can understand what it's like, what to expect, what not to expect, and maybe some things that aren't quite as they're portrayed, or sometimes the media portrays things a certain way and it's not quite that way. So let's get started. As you know, I'm Rocky Maimone. I am not an attorney. I gave birth to this beautiful attorney, Manna Maimone, and Peter, attorney number 2, is starting law school here in Florida August, in a couple of months. So we're going to have 2 of them. That means I can get in all kinds of trouble. I know who to call. So I'm going to let Manna introduce the firm, what she does, or however you want to take it. Let everyone know about you, Bella.
All right. Well, that was a very nice intro, Mom. So thank you for that. And I'll tell you the story of our firm. So we came down here, like my mom said, about 8 years ago. And we fell in love with Florida. We fell in love with the weather, the opportunities, the taxes. And we decided as a family to move down. Now, it was not a smooth road when we moved down. We had a kind of difficult to work with attorney who didn't share a lot of information with us. We were kind of left in the dark. I came on an E2, my mom came on an E2, Peter went to school, and we started our journey, figuring things out as we went. And part of my journey was going to law school, something that I could have never done in Ontario because it was very hard to get in. The LSAT scores were very, very, very competitive. And so I was blessed to be able to go to law school here in Florida. And then following that, I said to my mom, let's open a firm where we can help other people just like us. Other people who want to change their lives, move to somewhere that they enjoy, where they enjoy to live, have access to more opportunities, more fun, more sun, you name it. And so we started Maimone Legal. And we started Maimone Legal, my mom and I, in one room. And now we have a group of almost 21 staff members, including 2 other attorneys as well. So Maimone Legal is a special place. It's a wonderful place to work. All of our staff are very happy to work there, and there's a reason for that. We have a wonderful environment where we treat everyone who we come across as family, including our staff. And so the number one thing that we always talk about when we're training our staff, when we're talking about, what's important to us, is the client experience taking care of our clients in a way that we would have wanted to be taken care of. And how do we do that? We help strategize with you. We help inform you on different immigration options. We, once a path is carved out for you, we can help you with the business law, so forming an entity that satisfies the requirements for your visa. Or maybe you want to do some estate planning, protect your assets that you're going to acquire in the US, and plan for the future, so succession in case something happens to you. Who do you leave your property to? That kind of thing, that kind of stuff. So we can help you with all three of those. The main area that we help clients with are mainly E2 visas and EB5 visas. We also do family-based, so if you're going to marry a citizen or you're already married to a citizen, if you have an immediate family member, we can help you to sponsor them. If you are interested in investing, there's E2 visa, where you would invest and come down and start a small business. If you're interested in your green card, you seriously want permanent residency, we can help you with an EB5 investment. So you name it, we can do it for you. If we can't do it in-house, we will find a trusted partner, attorney, whoever we need to find to help you through that. So that's Maimone Legal in a nutshell.
Yeah, and what I like to tell everyone is, like, we're like Big Brother. So we can connect you, we can help you with real estate, we can help you get financing, we can help you guide you a little bit with school. And we just make sure that nobody messes with our peeps, you know? So you've got the lawyers there, you've got us there. You need help with the business, you need help, a contract. I even have clients calling me saying, Rocky, I need a doctor in Fort Lauderdale. You know, it's a little much, but it's okay, it's fine. So that's what we're there to do. So Pete, tell us a little bit about you, since you're just listening and
nodding along a little bit. So my name's Peter. I'm Rocky's son and Mena's little brother. I just graduated from Florida State University, go Noles, and I'm working at the firm this summer, helping with business planning and things of that nature. And in the fall, I'm going to be going to Nova, where Mena went, to pursue law school. So hopefully in 3-4 years, it's Maimone and Maimone. And I moved down here when I was 14. So it's been quite a bit now. And that's all I got right now.
Thanks, honey.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to tell you a little bit more about our story and how it happened. So as Mena mentioned, we came down, fell in love. I went home, and at first I was going to buy just a condo so that we could come down whenever we wanted to. And then I started doing the math. And for those of you who know me, I love to do math, especially if I'm figuring things out when it comes to investments. And I quickly realized that the cost of living was a lot lower, that the cost of housing was lower. No state income tax. The list just went on and on. And then I went to Mena and I said, I'm moving to Florida. And she's like, what? Are you crazy? And I said, you coming? She goes, oh yeah, if you're going, I'm coming. So now we had to convince Peter and John. So we told both of them and they're like, okay, whatever. These two are up to some other crazy thing that they want to do. And then Peter was like, you know, Mom, if you want to try it. I said, you know what, Pete, we're going to try it. If it's terrible, we'll have a house in Florida. We'll pack up the car and we'll just come home if it's terrible. And he's like, he was pretty good about it. He goes, I'm willing to try it. Okay. And then we went to John. And John had just put deposits on a couple of oil change locations that they were going to build. We had signed all the paperwork. I think we had put up $30,000 deposit on each site. And when I told him, he said, what are you talking about? Like, we're about to open these businesses. And I said, I don't know what it is, but I'm leaving. I just feel it in my heart. I have to go. And he's like, what do you mean you're leaving? Like, what about me? I said, well, we can open the businesses. You can go back and forth. And he's like, go back and forth. I said, yeah. So he was thinking about it. And I joke with the clients, but I actually said this to him one day. I said, John, there's a bus leaving for Florida, and there's a seat on that bus for you. If you'd like to take it, you're welcome. And he's like, you're going to leave me here? I said, no, you're going to leave yourself here. There's a seat on the bus. And he's like, I'm getting on the bus. Anyway, we canceled our contracts. I think we lost 15,000 on each location, but it was just something that we wanted to do. And then we needed to figure out, how do we do it? And so I had a consultation with an attorney who was driving in his car when he did the consultation. At one point in the call, he had road rage, and he's like telling other drivers off. And I'm like, this guy's terrible. He doesn't care about me at all. Then I flew down to Miami. I went to another ritzy building, sat with him, same thing. He was terrible. He didn't make me feel comfortable whatsoever. And then I got a referral from a friend. And, they got the job done for us. But to get him to email me or call me back, sometimes 3 weeks, I would have to contact my friend who referred him and say, look what's happening here. Anyway, make a long story short, like Mena said, he got the paperwork done. Most of it we were left on our own. We filled out everything on our own. There was really no prep, and we got the job done. So then when we came down on the E2, and a lot of questions are, how do we know where to live, right? Where do we go? So here's a funny story too. So John and I decided we're going to come down for 2 weeks, and we are going to just check out areas. So for the first week, we drove around. We had no idea what we were looking at. And we would go to one city, and then another city. And then by the end of the week, we went to breakfast one morning, and Mena and Peter were going to fly down the next week. I said, John, I can't live here. And he's like, oh, thank God. Me neither. I said, I know, everything's weird. The houses are weird. The streets are weird. It wasn't like Canada. And I said, I have no idea where we're going, what we're doing. And then I'm like, what are we doing here? Like, I started to get, cold feet. The very next day, Mena and Peter arrived, and our beautiful realtor took us out on a tour. And that changed everything. Because she said to me, well, what's your wish list? I said, well, the first and most important thing is I need an excellent school for Peter. Mm-hmm. In Canada, we lived in Bolton, and he was going to Villanova College. It was a 45 to an hour drive on the bus every morning and every night. And I said, if we're going to Florida, I want him to walk to school. And I want it to be a great school. And so we found Cardinal Gibbons High School. The realtor took us, arranged for a tour. We went to look at the school. It was beautiful. And then she said, well, around this school is a country club and a golf course and all these beautiful houses. I'm like, okay. Can I walk to the beach? Yes, you can. Can I walk to a restaurant? Yes, you can. Can I have too many drinks and stumble home after happy hour? Yes, you can.
Yes, definitely yes.
Yes, so we end up buying the house. Peter goes to that school, and here's the irony of the story. We were having breakfast at a Denny's that was walking distance to the house that we bought, where I told him, I don't think I can live here. So the moral of the story is you need to have, if you're going to go check out areas, doesn't matter where it is, please connect with a realtor. We can help to connect you we have people all over the state. Don't try to do it on your own. You're not going to know what you're looking at. You're not going to know what the schools are like. You're not going to know what the neighborhoods are like. You need to have your wish list, and then, away you go. So we bought the house. Actually, it's funny because remember, Mena was here and she was showing me the house on video. I think I bought it without even stepping foot in it.
Right, I had gone to see it, and then
Mena was here. She's like, Mom, it's great. It had a pool. Had an outdoor. Everything was outdoor, and so we made that purchase and we started our journey. So we had to sell everything, right? But what do we do? What do we do with our houses? What do we do with all of our winter coats?
Rid of it all.
Right. So at first it was, we had a rental property. It was a 1,400 square foot semi-detached home. So we sold our main home, and I had movers come for 3 days. Day one, they packed everything. There were Florida boxes and local boxes. Day two, Florida truck comes. They packed up everything for Florida. See you later. They left. The last day, the movers came to collect the local stuff, and we moved into the smaller home. It was furnished. We kept all of our winter gear there. We kept a car there, everything, because it felt weird. We
Yeah,
weren't sure.
Yeah, we weren't
we're
ready.
So we're
scared.
like, we need a house in
Oh
case we
well.
have to run back home,
Yeah.
right?
We weren't ready to cut the cord
No,
yet.
we weren't ready. So we get down here, we start living here, and we don't really know anybody. So it's Thanksgiving. Okay, let's fly to Canada. So we go to Canada. It's Christmas. Okay, let's go to Canada. And then after the first year, there was, I don't want to go to Canada.
Yeah.
And it's like, we never have to see snow again? No. Okay, we're not visiting Canada in the winter.
No.
And then we're like, well, I have a beautiful neighbor at the house. And I said to her, will you sell everything in my house for me? I'll split it in half with you. She's like, sure. Everything ended up on Kijiji. She
Yeah.
was selling ski boots, hats, sold the car, rented out the house for a bit. And now Florida has become our home.
Yeah, 100%.
And I didn't know the journey that we were going to embark on. I had no idea we'd be here today. I didn't know we were going to meet all these amazing people who wanted to do the same journey that we did. And it was really a true blessing. So I'm going to pass it over to these guys because I talk too much. And I'm going to let them give you their version of what was happening in their lives during this time.
Sure. Do you want me to go first, Peter?
You go first. Go ahead.
Okay, so I had just finished at York, my undergrad, and I was looking around, and the opportunities were just not there. So I was extremely eager to leave Canada at that age because I knew that if I came here and I, put in some hard work or went back to school, there was just something telling me that there was more opportunity to be had here. So I packed up my car. My mom wanted to kill me because the plan was that we were going to come down together. And then I was like, I'm out of here. But it was like January.
She wouldn't wait.
I wouldn't wait. And I said, I am not going to have another winter under my belt. I'm leaving now. So I packed up all my things. I remember I had like a little SUV at the time. It was like packed to the top. And thinking back, I'm lucky that I didn't get in any trouble at the border because I didn't have my E2 visa at that point. Which I tell people now as an attorney, don't do that. Don't make it look like you're moving. Right? You're just a visitor. But anyway, I didn't have any issue. I went through. I ended up, my mom helped me. I bought a little condo at the time. It was $180,000. It was close to Las Olas here, downtown Fort Lauderdale. And I move in. I had a boyfriend at the time. And I ended up realizing that I picked the wrong business. So I bought a little office building cafe, and I picked the wrong business because I was 22 years old. I had no idea what I was looking for. I had no business, no work experience. I was green. And I was so excited about this idea. I just wanted to buy any business that would get me my E2 and let me come here. So I buy this office building cafe. It doesn't have the right equipment. It's not, doesn't face any major road. There was no way to advertise to people. It was the people in the building, and that's it. And so every day I would go in and make sandwiches. I was the everything lady. I did the shopping. I did the cleaning. I did the cash. I did literally everything. And one day I started to notice that we were getting a lot of attorneys coming down, right? So coming down from their offices to have lunch. And so I started talking to them, and I thought, you know what? I'd be a great attorney. I'd be an awesome attorney. So I started asking them, where did you go to school? They started telling me. I do some research. I find Nova. And I go to my mom and I say, Mom, I want to sell this business and I want to go to law school.
Hallelujah.
Said, do whatever it is that you have to do. You have my support. So that's exactly what I did. Luckily, I ended up selling the business back to the original owners. I gave up my E2 at that point to go on a student visa. I took the LSAT and I, started preparing to go to law school. My social life at the time was limited, and if I could go back, what I would have done was I would have lived in a building that where I'm living right now, where you meet a lot of people, where there's social events, where there's amenities. The building that I chose at the time was a more boutique, smaller type of building. There weren't a lot of networking opportunities. And so that's what I would have done from day one. I would have found a building, especially as a young person, I would have found a building where I can really socialize with other young professionals or people who want to make friends. And so my social life was limited for a while, and my mom was my only friend here in Florida for quite some time. And I get to law school, and we do the first semester. Halfway through the second semester, COVID. So I ended up doing most of my law school online. I made some pretty great friends during law school. And then, like my mom said, one day I just felt like Florida was my home. I used to call Canada my home, and now I call Fort Lauderdale, Florida my home. When I refer to Canada, I say, oh, up north or, in Canada. I never call it my home anymore. And so in the beginning, it might suck a little bit. You might be confused. You might face some delays. We have some clients that, maybe they're a little bit frustrated because the interview took a little bit longer than they thought, or they're waiting on something to finalize. And that's okay. Once you get all of that out of the way, and you come down here, whether you're going to Florida, Texas, or any other state, you come down, some time passes, and you start to get familiar with your surroundings, you start to make friends. I promise you, all of it will have been worth it. So that's my take on it. Now I'm extremely blessed to work with some really great people. I feel that my career is really rewarding. And although I have to be the bearer of some difficult news sometimes, 99% of the time I get to tell people awesome things and meet some really amazing people who are looking forward to starting their new life in the US.
Thank you,
Very
man.
nice.
Very well said.
My turn?
Your turn.
Peter.
Okay, so I'm just gonna explain kind of from the start what my experience was like. To tell the full picture, I want to explain a little bit about what my life was like in Canada. I completed grade 9 in Canada, and then in between grade 9 and grade 10, that summer we moved to Florida. My experience in Canada in grade 9 was not the best. I still have my best friend Luke from Canada, but I had a harder time finding my group at school in Canada. And I think a lot of that had to do with the distance. I didn't have friends who I could ride a bike to their house. The only one I had was my best friend Luke, and that's why he was my best friend. He was close. We would go to each other's houses. But making connections at school, I had a hard time because you want to go hang out? Sure, let's hang out after school. Okay, let me call my mom and see if she can drive me 45 minutes to your house. It's not simple. So when I moved down here, everything changed for me. There was obviously a period of growing pains, a little bit of confusion, like Mena said. I didn't know what a GPA was, a grade point average. I didn't know what an SAT was, all these things that were a little bit foreign to me. But what I found was the biggest change for me, it wasn't the weather, it wasn't the beach, it was the people. I found an amazing friend group at my high school, and they all lived close by. And it's like December, and I'm like, hey, Matthew, one of my best friends down here, you want to come hang out in the pool after school? We'll walk to my house. Sure, let's do it. So it was experiences like that you just couldn't get in Canada that really changed things for me. I met a lot of amazing people, and I was able to get involved in a lot of things that I wouldn't have ever experienced in Canada. For if you've watched the movies about American high schools and you think it's fiction, it's not. It's reality. There's pep rallies where they have the drum band going crazy in the gym and everyone's cheering, and you have a song for your high school, and there's a real pride in the school that you go to. Everyone goes to watch the football games on the weekend. Even middle-aged people who went to your high school decades ago still show up to the football games because that's how much they love their school. So I really found a sense of community that I never experienced in Canada. I found friends that, a group of friends that were close by, and it's nice being Canadian too because everyone likes Canadian people here. I was known as the Canadian guy. So I had a fantastic high school experience. It's just the people, the environment, like I said, it's December and you can have your friends over for a pool party. And then I went to college. I went to Florida State University, and that was another just eye-opening experience. I met my beautiful girlfriend there who's in the webinar and would kill me if I didn't mention her.
That's not the only reason.
But I met my beautiful girlfriend at Florida State. And when I went to FSU, it was like high school all over again. I met even more people. I joined a fraternity. I was part of a brotherhood of over 150 members. That gave me access to networking. If I apply for a job, I was in Fiji, Phi Gamma Delta. If I applied for a job and the person interviewing me is a Fiji, I have a foot in the door. Chances are I'm getting that job. So it was experiences like that. The football games, it's like an NFL stadium. And then not just that, the academic opportunities here. I had professors, I studied entrepreneurship. I had professors who were a part of multi-million-dollar companies, business owners, franchise owners. It was overall a life-changing experience. I'm so glad that you got us to move here.
You're welcome.
And there were a countless amount of times where I was at school or just, it's a beautiful day and I can't believe that we live here.
Yeah, he used to say thank you to me. At the beginning, it was once a week.
Yeah.
Remember, we'd go outside and you're like, wow, what a beautiful day.
Yeah.
Then one day you said, I'm going to stop saying that because it's like every day.
Yeah, that's just the weather.
I have a question for Peter, which is a very important question.
Okay.
How much student debt do you have?
Oh, yeah, that's very important. So there is a scholarship in Florida called Bright Futures. It's funded by the Florida Lottery. And the way it works is there are requirements, hard requirements. So a certain grade point average and a certain SAT score, which is a standardized test. And they have different levels, 25%, 50%, and 100%. And if you meet the requirements, they pay for your schooling. So I was...
days.
Yeah, I was able to get the grade point average and the standardized test scores to get 100% of my college tuition covered. And on top of that, I was able to achieve a scholarship with Florida State. So I was actually paid to go to college, and I graduated with no debt.
Right. But most scholarships, you have to be like top 2%.
Right.
Bright Futures isn't like that.
No, Bright Futures isn't like that. It's extremely achievable, especially the 50%, which is its average grades. You just have to try. Yeah. And it covers 50% of your tuition. And
well, now Florida has a program called the Step Up program. And so let's say you're here on an E2 and you're a resident, you're living here. If you apply by April 30th, then for the following school year, they'll cover just over $8,000 if you decide to put your child in a charter school or in a private school. So basically what our governor did was he said, if you're going to send your child to public school, this is what it costs us, over $8,000. If you choose not to, we're going to give you the money put towards whatever school choice you pick. So it's a school choice state. That would have been nice. I paid for you to go to high school, but that's okay. No, it's okay. You made up for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So college was good.
College was amazing.
The thing that I noticed, because you didn't really have anything to compare it to, is remember your friend who came to Villanova and he was American?
Yeah.
And I was talking to his dad and he said, in Canada, there's no community at the school.
Yeah, and it was confusing.
We didn't really know what he meant.
No.
And when we got here, we realized it. There's a whole, even with internships, there's all kinds of internships and companies open up to have kids come either paid or unpaid. there's a real sense of let's groom these kids, let's teach them, let's give them opportunities because we want them to be our future leaders.
Yeah,
And
100%.
so there's a lot going on in the school. One time I got a video from you.
Hmm.
So his frat does a beach party every year. They literally get a dump truck to bring beach sand, and they filled up the whole front lawn and they were having a party. And I get a random video of this beach party. And at the bottom, Peter says, "Hey, Mom, thanks for forcing me to move to Florida."
Yeah.
I still
Yeah.
have it. So thanks for sharing that. Someone said any challenges. Like there's a lot of kids watching. They don't want to leave their friends. They don't want to leave their school. They're afraid of what happens,
Yeah.
you know?
Well, there were challenges right at the beginning. Like I said, you're in a new place. It's completely foreign to you. You have some confusion about things like GPA and SAT and things like that. But like I said, those things, I think I really struggled for like maybe 2 months. And then, like I said, the people here are they're willing to help out. They're willing to talk to you. People are so personable here. And if you put forth the effort to just meet people and talk to people, you will find your place. Because the first couple months, I didn't have anyone to sit with at lunch. Yeah, I was calling my mom at lunch. Hey, mom, I'm eating lunch. And then I kind of just started going up to people and saying, hey, can I sit with you at lunch? Sure. No one ever said no. No one was ever rude to me. I never saw any like bullying in my school. And eventually I sat with enough people and I met people that I really liked. And the rest is history. They're my friends now. I went to college with them and the same friend group, high school, college, and now after college, we're all still friends, all hanging out on the weekends. It's just the people really make a difference. But there's a little bit of challenge at the beginning.
Yeah, and you know what? Even with me, I didn't know anybody. We had two friends when we moved here. I like to call Florida the land of the runaways.
Yeah.
So everyone's from somewhere, and they all come down. Even if you're in Texas, Texas is booming as well. People are looking for something. They're looking for a better life. They're looking to make acquaintances, make friends, grow their business. And so you'll find that it's very easy to make friends. You just got to be willing to talk. There's all kinds of networking events.
Yeah, I have something to add to this as well. The extracurriculars that are available to you in the States blow Canada out of the water. So even in high school, there were all kinds of clubs, sports teams that were just for fun. There were robotics clubs, business clubs, debate clubs. And then in FSU in college, it's a whole other level. Like I said, there's Greek life where you can join organizations with 200 people that, you immediately bond with. So I would say that also helped. I joined some clubs. I met some really nice people
Across the U.S. with the science.
Yeah, I did Science Olympiad, which is like a science buses. So yeah, there were a lot of amazing experiences that allowed me to meet people that were interested in the same things that I am. So
that was great.
So one thing I want to talk about too is a lot of people are concerned about safety. When they hear about the US, they think about guns and, shootings and stuff like that. So Peter, do you want to talk about how safe your school was and how you felt going there?
Yeah, so I'll just start with this. I've never felt unsafe at school or on campus or anything like that. My school in Cardinal Gibbons, my high school, has like gates with security guards. Everyone has an ID. I never felt unsafe there. There's nobody at the high school who's not supposed to be there. Yeah. You should tell them when you tried to drop my ID off.
So it's so secure. I live up the street. It's a 2-minute walk. So Peter forgot something at home. And I'm like, okay, I'll bring it down to you, but I'm in my pajamas. So I'm just going to drive the car to the end of the driveway. You come to the car, I'll give it to you. He had just started school. So I get there, I park, and all of a sudden 2 security guards see me on their golf carts. and they start wheeling over and they're staring at me. And I'm like, oh my God, I must look like they don't know what I'm doing. I'm checking out the school. So then I'm like, okay, I'm gonna back up and I'm gonna go to the next street. They won't see me. So I back up, I go to the next street, they spot me on the next street. And they start like look, and I'm like, you know what? I text Peter, I go, I'm going home. I'm not giving it to you. Because I don't want to get out of the car. I'm in my pajamas and next thing I know, they're gonna call the police on me. So yeah, I never felt uncomfortable with that
No.
as well. Okay, so we're already at 8:10. I think we should, I think there's a lot of questions that people are asking. Jamie, maybe you can put up the our Facebook group. Let's talk about that quickly. We have a Facebook group called Canadians Moving to Florida and the USA. We have over 73,000 members and growing every day. If you're not already a member, please feel free to join. There's lots of members helping one another and giving each other advice. So the QR code is there if you want to take part in that. The other thing that the firm does is we offer 20-minute free calls. You can book that. It'll take you to a calendar event, and the call will be booked with a member of our team. There's no obligation to do anything, but it'll give you an opportunity maybe to find out a little bit more, get some questions answered, and have that initial information. Because we talk to a lot of people who get really information is completely incorrect. And if you want to Google it, that's great. But if you want to really know what's going on, there's my Italian, you can scan this code and book your call for 20 minutes, and they'll be able to help you. Okay, so we're going to leave that up. So let's look at some of the questions. I was kind of looking as we were going along, and thank you to everyone who said hello and greetings. Yes, everyone's been great. One of our clients is on here, said that they had a wonderful opportunity with us, and wonderful experience. And thank you for sharing that. Thank you for being a client, and we'd love to continue to be there to support you. So someone's talking about bringing their 3 boys, 11, 9, and 6, to Ocala or Winter Garden. Hurry up and get it done, because the kids are going to love it. You're going to love it. Someone was asking, how do I, one of the biggest worries is how do they move their money to buy a home in the US? So as a Canadian, you have the opportunity to use your Canadian credit and your Canadian jobs or income to qualify for a mortgage in the United States. We have a couple of really good brokers that we work with. You can do it from there. You can do it here. Transferring money, I know that the exchange rate is fluctuating quite a bit. There's a wonderful way to exchange if you're going to exchange a lot of money, like sell your house and then move it over. We share that with clients. It's going to save you 3 or 4% off of the exchange rate. Happy to help you with that when that point comes. Okay. So we have someone whose wife is American and they have 3 kids and they're looking to move here to the US. Eddie, do you need help with how to do that? There are ways you can do it consular, you can do it adjustment of status. I don't know, do you want to talk a little bit about that, Mena? Just touch on it briefly.
Sure. So your US citizen spouse would sponsor you and your kids. And you can either start the process from there and wait and finalize it there. It takes about 1.5 years or a little bit more sometimes. Or you can come down to the US and we can start the process after 90 days of you being a visitor here. And through that process, we would adjust your status. There's a period where you wouldn't be able to work or travel internationally. So it does take, some time and just consideration of that. But then you would basically adjust your status, be able to stay in the US, and you would get your green card typically in about 8 to 12 months on average.
Okay. Someone said, are you still accepting resumes? We had a big hiring event last night. We're always accepting resumes. You have to have the legal ability to work in the US. If you're the spouse of an E2 and you have an open work permit, let us know. If you're eligible to work in the United States, we'd love to hear from you. There was a whole list of things that we were hiring for. So you'll be able to just send us an email and let us know what you have. Okay, I asked you this, any challenges? What about work? Could we sell up and move at the prices of homes? Just concerned about work. I'm ready to leave Canada tomorrow. I think they want to work here. I don't know if Chris if that's what you mean. So getting a job in the United States under a work visa is difficult. If you're on the TN list, it's a little bit simpler. A TN is a list of professions that the US government will allow Canadians to come in on a TN. If you're not on a TN and you're looking to work here, then you have to get most of the time sponsored by a US company. And that US company has to prove that they aren't able to find a US worker to be able to do the same job that you're planning on doing. The E2 visa is the most popular because it requires you to open a business, but one spouse opens the business, the other spouse can get an open work permit, and you can start your journey into the US that way. That's what we did. And then later on, we did an EB5, which allows you to get your green cards. And we assist people with both of those methods along the way. Peter, did you get an F1 visa for college?
Yes.
Yes. So we didn't include Peter in our E2. We had him do a student visa because the student visa allowed him to continue to go. There's no age limit on it as long as you're a full-time student. And also the F1 visa allows you to work part-time on campus. And you can also, if there's a job that's like an internship that's related to your area of study, you can potentially do a paid internship. So it gives you a little bit more flexibility. Oh, someone shared our Attention Canadian, South Florida, we're hiring. So the hiring event was last night. Thank you for sharing that. Those are some of the positions that we have available within the firm. Congratulations, Peter.
Thank you, Roxanne.
What's the estimate or time to obtain a marriage or a K1 visa? Mena, do you need a K1 if you're Canadian?
If you're Canadian, you don't need a K1. You can just come and visit the United States, and after 90 days, we can adjust your status. If you come from a country that could not visit the United States, then you would need a K1. And typically, it's around 8 months to a year to get that done for you. And then you can enter the US and proceed with the next step.
So Maria's saying, what about those who don't get a scholarship? So if you're a resident in the state and you're living here, then your child would pay in-state tuition. If your child comes after, let's say you're in Canada up until grade 12, and then they apply to a US college, they're not considered in-state. It's about 3 times the tuition that an in-state student would pay. The same thing happens if you live in Florida and you want to go to a university in Michigan. You pay more because you're not from that state. They do it because they also want to retain their talent. They want to keep it in state.
There's an interesting question here. Someone's asking, how does the cost of living in Toronto GTA compare to living in Florida? We did a podcast on that, which is going to be released shortly. And we actually met with a couple of realtors that we're good friends with, and we did an analysis of the same square footage and everything, and the difference in what you would get. And it was just astonishing what you could get. I mean, for $400,000, you can get an independent home with, a really nice backyard. If you take a look at what you can get in Toronto for $400,000,
nothing. A shed from Home Depot.
Yeah.
There's that, and I know gas is a lot cheaper. Groceries are a lot cheaper. Taxes are way less. So
taxes. When we do our taxes here, it's the happiest day of my life.
In sales tax, we only pay, 7%? 6, 7?
Yeah, there is no goods tax. I mean, services tax. And so some of the beautiful things with tax here, so there is no state income tax, only federal. If you're a husband and wife, you can file together. So let's say one spouse makes $200, the other one's a stay-at-home parent. Well, then it's $100 each. You can, that happens automatically. You can write off your property tax that you pay on your principal residence up to a certain amount. You can write off the interest on your mortgage. So I remember the first time we did our taxes, Mena was upset. She's like, I have to pay And I said, come here, I'm going to show you something. I took out a piece of paper. I said, if you were in Ontario, this is the check you would have cut. And she's like, oh, I'm going to quickly go write this check. And I said, absolutely. So tax day is April 15th. I'm the happiest person in the office. All the Americans, they don't know how good they have it. And they're like, oh, it's tax day. I'm like, it's tax day. Because it's so much less. Ron DeSantis, our governor, God love him, he's looking at giving a rebate for property tax next year. And in 2026, he's proposing to eliminate property tax. Hopefully that goes through. Rocky will be an even happier person on tax day. They do all kinds of things, and there's so much more money left in your pocket at the end of the day. And, that takes me to healthcare, because people are like, what about healthcare? I said, there is no healthcare up there. It takes you months. I remember I had frozen shoulder, 18-month wait to see a specialist. One day my hip was hurting me, and I went online, and I found a walk-in orthopedic surgeon. I'm like, no way. I gotta go check this out. I went in the morning. By an hour and a half later, they had x-rayed my hip. The surgeon came in and told me exactly what was wrong with it. So yeah, you have to pay for it, but then you get service. And so if you look at the tax savings and you pay for the healthcare, you're still a mile ahead of the game. And one time I drove into Holy Cross Hospital, had to go for a test. And people who saw me must have thought I was insane. I pull up, I look, I see something. I start laughing in the car. The hospital has complimentary valet parking. And I'm like, excuse me? At the hospital.
Yeah.
It just,
that's funny.
Yeah, crazy. Okay, let's keep going. People are looking for realtors, need a place to rent. Email me, Rocky, ROCKI, at MaimoneLegal.com. Even intake at Maimone Legal. You need a place to live, rent, buy. You need help with, what do I do about healthcare? How do I find the right program? Just email me and I'll hook you up.
Someone asked if it takes longer to get a green card during this political climate. That's a great question. It doesn't, I haven't seen any delays. I've seen cases processing as normal. Sometimes we've received a few more RFEs, which is a request for evidence. So, the petition has to be really strong, and we have to be really careful about what we submit. And the more evidence that we can get, the better. And sometimes, some of my clients are on here, they can tell you that sometimes they ask for things that we can't predict, and so we just have to, answer properly and diligently, and we can get the job done for you. So maybe a couple more RFEs than what we're used to, but still seeing a lot of approvals, people, going through the pipeline, and not too many delays. So that's the good news. So you should be totally fine.
So Soji is saying, her child, grade 8, she's going to lose her friend group. I think Peter addressed that. Even for us adults, because so many times we find husbands and wives, one wants to do it, the other one doesn't. Just like I shared with John and I. I think the most important part is to really understand what's happening. And I remember saying, okay, you're not going to see your friends or your family. Mm-hmm. The first year we moved here, I felt like I was running a hotel. Everybody came to visit. Friends bought places. Then they were like, how happy are you here? And I'm like, really happy. Anyway, and then when we would come back to Canada for an event or, come back for something, it was like Mick Jagger was in town. Everybody made time for us. It was like a week of going to eat, have dinner here and there. And it's funny because my best friend from when I was 14 years old lives in Palgrave, Ontario. I moved here. She bought a place on the beach close to me. We go back and forth. We go visit. She lived 10 minutes from me, and months would go by sometimes without us seeing each other. Just busy with life, and I knew she was there. So it changes a little bit, but it's been wonderful. I haven't, especially with today, with technology, with FaceTime, with the ability to share things, show things. It'll be fine. And you want to move your child when they have an ability to go to school.
Yeah.
You don't want to move them the year before they start college. I mean, that's okay too, because they'll make friends in college. But if you move them during high school or during elementary school, they'll be fine. They're going to make friends and then potentially go to school together, go
Yeah.
away together. Yeah.
The other thing too is like, when they say the grass is greener on the other side, it
Yeah.
really is greener on the other side. But what I mean by that is you don't realize how much better it is until you do it.
Right.
And then once you do it, you'll look back on your life in Canada and you'll think, how did I do that? How did I stay in all winter? And it's just, it's the grass is greener on the other side. It's a completely different life. It's a completely different experience in the best way possible.
Yeah, I mean, I used to be a teacher. That was my first job when I was 23 years old. And ironically, a couple of my students found me. They saw me on television, and two of them want to move to Florida. So they called and said, Miss G, because that was my name, how do we get down there? And Peter's right. Like, oftentimes he would say to me, oh my God, Mom, we're going to the beach, we're going here, we're doing that, we're having outings, and my friends are stuck at home in Canada.
Yeah.
It's cold, they're not going out. It's, completely different.
One other thing I want to touch on is when you first experience a full year without winter,
Yeah.
you realize how much seasonal depression affects you. And you won't realize it until you don't experience it. And the first time you don't experience it, you'll be like, oh my God, I was depressed months out of the year. I didn't even realize.
Yeah. So this is a good question. Natasha said, or it's James, how do you work around settling your family there, but on an E2 visa, knowing that it's not a permanent visa? Well, the way that I looked at it was I didn't even know if I wanted to permanently stay in Florida. So I used it as a stepping stone. I met a couple the other day. They've been in Florida for 25 years on an E2 visa. So you can keep renewing it as long as you like. You can look for other avenues. I did an EB5 once I realized I really wanted to stay here. You can look for sponsorship. There's all kinds of different avenues that you can take towards that green card to make it more permanent. But the only hindrance from the E2 is going to be you. So you have to make sure you follow the rules. You do what it is that you need to do to keep your E2 status in good standing, and you'll be fine. You can stay 5 years, 2 years, 20 years. It's completely up to you how you navigate that.
Right. The most important thing with that is making sure that as soon as you get that visa, you work on generating revenue. You maintain your physical office location or commercial space or whatever you've promised to do in your business plan, and you work towards hiring Americans. If you do that and you're profitable, and it doesn't mean that you have to be a billionaire. You have to show profitability and a true effort to maintain employed Americans. You'll have no problem in renewing that visa.
So one person's asking, what school will take kids while you're investing in the business if they're just here as visitors?
Yeah, so this is kind of a gray area, and that's a little bit tricky. What I would recommend you do is get your visa settled before having your kids start school, because God forbid there's any hiccup or anything like that would delay you in the process. Then your kids are already in school and you find yourself between two places. So what I would recommend you do is buy that business, set up a business, whatever it is you're going to invest in, have the investment go through, let us file for you, go attend the interview. Once all of it is finalized and you actually have your passport with your visa in hand, then make that step towards enrolling your kids in school. And maybe that means that you do your E2 a little bit early. Don't wait till the last minute. A lot of people say, I have 2 months before my kids start school. That's not enough time. So if you want to come to the US next year, for example, I would start even now.
Start now, 100%.
You can work with us. We can give you the list of what you're going to need. You can find a broker. You can put everything together and settle it, go to the interview before you actually want to move.
Yeah, if you really want to do it while you're here as a visitor, some of the private schools, we can get you a student visa. And if your children can't be left alone, which is what happened with us, we took turns. So John and I would take turns. Sometimes Mena would stay with Pete, and we would go back and forth to Canada to get our things done.
The only issue with that, Mom, is that if your child is enrolled in school and you don't have a visa yet, at the border these days, they might say, hey, what are you doing? Right?
Right.
So
And
it's
then
really important that you have.
Then Billy's left behind.
They would say, hey, what are, why? It doesn't make any sense that you are going back and forth.
Right.
Seems like you want to be more permanent, right? So
yeah, it worked for us. It could work for you. But yeah, you need to know all the advantages and disadvantages. Don't wait till the last minute. If you want to get things done, get started and let us assist you along the way so that you don't make any errors.
So we have the webinars now coming to an end. So I think, Jamie, do you mind putting on our QR code so we can explain some options? So I know, our usual webinars are that we get into the E2, get into the EB5. We didn't do that tonight. Tonight was just kind of get to know us, get to know our story, get the perspective of the family. I think I'm looking more, Jamie, for the 20-minute call. Did
you see Matthew? He's an undergraduate at Laurier and wants to go to law school in Florida. You should do it. It was wonderful.
I did my first 2 years of undergrad at Laurier, and then I finished at York. And then I went to law school. Don't worry about afterwards. You get a 1-year open work permit. Find a nice firm to sponsor you. You'd be on the TN list and all of that, and you can work.
There's lots of options.
So if you guys go ahead and scan here, we offer a free 20-minute call. So if you have very specific questions that we didn't answer for you tonight, or you want to know specifically what the visa options are, we would really love to help you. You can go ahead and scan here to book a free call with us. If you have any questions for me or Rocky specifically, you can even email us directly. We don't mind that either.
Okay, I think we got to most of them. If we didn't get to all of them, we apologize. We're just the purpose of tonight was we just had so many families worried about how it affects different members of the family. And so we wanted to share our experience with you, let you know what you can expect and how we might be able to guide you through. So we appreciate everyone's time. Is there anything you want to say, Pete, before we go?
Get your kids down here. They'll love it. They'll thank you.
They'll thank you.
They will thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
For me, thank you so much for being here. And we look forward to talking with you and connecting with you soon.
Thank you, everybody.
Good evening. Talk to you soon.
Okay. Good night, everyone.